Welcome, I'm Teresa Shantz, and welcome to Spiritual Perspective Discerning News. I'm the host of Enthusiastically Spiritual, and I've got some beautiful friends here today. I've got Tom Shantz in the house, and I've got Tiger Coll in the house.
Hello, Teresa.
Hello.
It's a triple T.
Yeah.
And we are here to share the weekly news in a more spiritual perspective. So we'd like to start this off the first week in January of 2025 and going to be diving into some news stories. Are you ready, Tiger?
I'm ready.
Let's do it.
All right. So just looking back at this last week's news, we're all going to be shared a piece of that. Things that stood out to me was AI, believe it or not. I know that's been going around, for ages, but the most recent thing is that China, in particular, came up with the next wave of AI, and it's I think they call it a deep seek or something like that. But basically, it's a new model, and they're building off of the existing AI models, and they're able to just really advance for less expensive and further, and it's outperforming. So AI, that's helping a lot and, and has its challenges and stuff like that. I'm bringing it up from the significance for the news of the week because to me, the AI is all about the intellect, right? It's all about the thinking mind. It's to help us think, to organize, to help me organize the means so I can get from point A to point B. And why I chose that was because we're now having this wave, like the cat is out of the bag. Anybody who's concerned about AI, you can stop being concerned about it and figure out how to work with it because it's going. We're already on road, right? So, but the one thing that stands out for me, particularly in this environment that I work with, I do, this kind of personal growth and self-understanding business, is I need to be sensitive to where that fits. If I'm not sensitive to where that fits, then I'll forget what my part is in sharing with people. So the simplest form is like, okay, I'm using that to help write some copy for me on a website or for a document or something, right? But I still need to go back and I still need to recheck it. I still need to say, is that holding the feeling for what I'm doing? Because without that, and I'm just going to start becoming reliant on something outside of me. That's number one that I need to be sensitive to. I don't want to become reliant spiritually. I come here to liberate myself. That's part of my purpose here spiritually. So I need to make sure that every step, every tool I use, everything I have in my toolkit is helping me advance. It's helping me take a step forward. So, the car helps me get there faster, but my life isn't about the car, right? The car's important. It helps me get there, but the car's only there to help me get there more efficiently. So I'm bringing this up. So the AI thing of the news and this new breakthrough, I think it's a significant thing from the perspective of making sure that I utilize things to my benefit and I don't become reliant. I actually utilize it so that I can be a better service, that I can be helpful. It can be helpful to me, be more abundant, to reach more people, these kind of things. So as long as I know where things fit, then to me, it's going to work out just fine. With all the ups and downs, the not so great things, it'll work itself out. And then the other component, which is a fair bit more spiritual concept, and is we were kind of talking about this at the pre-meeting of this interview. That's right. Is that AI is about the intellect. So I have two natures, my intellectual nature and my feeling nature, right? And I need to be in balance. I need to work with both. And so for me, that AI energy is going to help us advance further and help us organize. But if I don't match it with my feeling nature, right? If I don't have something, me, myself, is taking charge of that situation and balancing all those ideas with experience and feeling, then I'm going to start leaning one side, right? And I'm going to instinctively know that that's not right. I'm not in balance. So that's that. If you want to know more about that, that'll be in the link down below. One of our lectures, video lectures. It's great. It's like 5 minutes. It's right in there, the balance of thought and feeling, and then how that affects things like science, religion, and society. I really recommend that. But the end of the day, to me, this is a bit of a newsworthy because the cat's out of the bag. It's been out of the bag, but now we're building on top of buildings, right? We're building on top of buildings. So now this latest invention has built on top of something that already has been built. Up to this point, we've been building them on their own. Now we've built on top of something new, right? This is the new thing. So that means that's just going to keep snowballing and keep going. So to me, recapping my part of the story here is just for me to be sensitive and for everyone to be sensitive that this is a great tool, but it's just a tool. And I didn't know where it fits. And as long as I work with it from that perspective of being of service to myself and people, then it will all work out. If I let myself get ruled by it, if I let myself become complacent, if I let myself become dependent, then the intellect is going to take over and I'll have no feeling or understanding with all of this together, right? So that's the latest news for me on AI.
So Tiger's opening it up with AI. So want to share a little bit about that, Tom?
Well, it's something that I've been exposed to as well. We work with AI a little bit when it comes to summarizing our podcasts. And, from a practical point of view, it can often just help me get organized a little quicker than if I did it by myself. But I always find I have to add, the feeling, and I have to scrutinize or just go through, well, what is it I really want to say? Especially when it comes to spiritual experiences and feelings. The AI doesn't have a track record in that. But one of the subjects we touched on, prior to getting into the room today, is that it's great to be around the table with you today.
Happy life, happy wife.
Yeah, and I've been saying to some of my friends and people that I run across it was easy for me to rebel against the idea of AI. And I'm thinking, what? The less we need, more feeling, less intellect, and that kind of thing. And but the other thing is, if we can look at how to make it practical, I often thought like there's writing tools that are available. You can compose emails, you can compose reports, you can summarize reports. Like all this is possible. Anything you wonder about, you can ask AI and get briefed on. So it's great from that point of view. But as you brought up, Tiger, I've got to use my, sensitivity to really discern, is that something that was generated by a person, or is that something that was generated by a machine? And does that machine really have the feeling for that interpretation? Although it is amazing, how our intellect obviously operates on certain rules and the way we learn and so forth. So that's a bit eye-opening, but, we can't take this physical body with us. So it's important that I evolve from that spiritual perspective, which is all experience and feelings. So I guess in summary, be aware of it, work with my sensitivity is what's occurred to me, but also embrace it because, the younger folks or less experienced folks, they're not going to sit there and judge AI. They're just going to use it. And it's like learning to use text messages. I mean, I remember when I would have never thought that I could write a text message to a corporate client, but then they start writing me short little text messages. I always thought I had to write a nice formal letter or, some form of document. So, I'm old enough that I've worked through all those evolutions, and now we just take it for granted. If I can't text or if I can't write a quick email and reach out quickly, I'll be behind the pace.
Interesting perspective. So here's mine. What comes to me about AI is, especially working where I'm working at now, which is in an architectural firm. So, which they all use their minds and are very smart people. And so to me, again, what you both have said about AI being really not a feeling kind of situation, it brings up that for those that are maybe unstable or don't recognize within themselves how to really stay in balance and how to really work with their guidance and work with their energy, bringing AI into the field of whatever they're doing is going to make them maybe have some fear. And that's what I've kind of seen out in the world. I've noticed that people have been really...
I'm glad you got to that.
Yeah, a little fearful about this new technology, which I'm excited about too, because like Tom said, we use it in our podcast and overall it does a really good job. We have to do some refining and because sometimes it doesn't quite get what we're trying to say or trying to portray, especially as in the spiritual realm, because it doesn't have feelings, right? So coming into areas where, people are more intellectual and are not in their feelings will be interesting to watch as we move forward. Because as Time you're saying, China coming forth with some new technology and really building on the foundations that are already present, it's just going to be interesting to see how many people move with that wave of the new technology or how many get fearful and often and get scared and don't want to move that way. And of course, that's, to me, it feels like to their they won't be able to move forward with what's coming because it's a technology, it's how it goes and how it flows, right? So that's where I think about it because of the fact that, I do work in a place where the people are really smart. They use their intellect a lot and also their feelings. So the landscape architects are pretty much in their feelings, going out into the nature and figuring out how to work with the plants, the trees, the land. But working with AI is completely different. So it should be an interesting perspective and also just an interesting time frame in time right now to see where this all takes us.
Can I share something else?
Absolutely. I was going to ask for last thought, please.
Well, some of my last thoughts are, you brought up that word, the fear, and from a couple of angles, like a fear of using or embracing a new tool. That's always been with us. Every wave of new technology stimulates some fear. So there must be a pony there somewhere. There must be a positive there. And on the other hand, people will use AI to create fear in other people. So, there you go.
Double-edged sword.
Yeah, it's kind of so anything, if there's too much fear, a little healthy fear is good, to keep us alive. But when there's an overemphasis on it, and so, we could take that, story about China coming up with a new way forward that's less expensive than what's happened in the past. And I listened to the article and it had to do with being able to utilize some cheaper microchips, some processors that are more readily available at less cost. So on the one hand, it provides lots of people opportunity to create uses for AI that are practical. And on the other hand, there and new investment opportunities for small and medium-sized business, which, gives more people more opportunity. But on the other hand, you got to watch the news because they're like, China's got something and they did this and oh my goodness. And, so be aware of how we're going to be manipulated by that news as well, or who's going to try to manipulate me with that news. Not that there isn't some truth in being aware of it, and being aware of where things are coming from.
Well said, Tom. Well said.
Yeah, I was actually going to close with something similar to that is just being sensitive to the fear. And when I said the cat was out of the bag, I mean, this is here, we've created it. And I think it's a tremendous resource for us. And the other component, I guess my closing part of it would be just to come back to make sure that I'm in balance and that's just my way of being. That is to say that I have an interpretation for every experience and I've got a feeling for every thought, that coming back to our basic thing that we talked about in the lecture piece, how important that is just for not only daily living, let alone that we've got something that can really have a game changer and, find new amazing ways to be abundant and new ways to drive my car in new ways to work with a planet or whatever, go off planet. There's all this potential there. But in the end of the day, I think to Tom's point is that I actually have a limited time here. And the old saying is that life on planet Earth is the blinking of an eye, the time span of eternity. So it actually, and as you go through the cycles, things goes quicker. Like as you get older, it's like, where did that last decade go? Forget about the last week.
Yes.
So my point for bringing that up is living with fear or getting caught up in things. And I know we're going to be talking about some other things on the podcast here, news. Getting caught up in things is not what I've come to do, but working with things so that I can fulfill my purpose. That's what I've come to do. And so that's part of why I brought it up. I just felt it's important to kind of come back to center, come back to the why I'm here, which is to liberate myself personally and spiritually, and to outgrow limitations. So to utilize things for my benefit and not to get trapped up in them. That's my closer.
Well said. So with that, let's go into our next news story.
All right.
So the next news story is something that I've noticed lately. And unless you're under a rock or in a cave, you might have heard about the skies and the drone things going on. And you may have also heard a lot of things about it going on in New Jersey and in Florida and around our country, around the world. And people are really questioning what's going on. They even had some things over in DC about, what's really happening. Can the government tell us what's happening? And of course, thought that came out was, we can't tell you anything that's happening. And even President Trump, who's coming in soon, they asked him, and he says, I have nothing to say about that because I don't know what's going on yet. So I really wanted to bring that up because it comes to a fact of how there's so much in the news these days that once one subject really kind of dies down, like say the election, we were all heightened in the election area and that time frame. And then once that dies down, well, they have to find another hot spot. And this specific hot spot really, it rings true for me in my soul because I know truth about who I am as a soul. And I know that, I'm not necessarily from Earth. I'm from other places. And so what they're really trying to do, what I've noticed that's been portrayed in a lot of the situations that are being shared out there on different news cycles and things, is that these are perhaps from other places. These are perhaps alien. These are perhaps, beings that are coming here to do something to us. So why are we not finding out more? And so what that, for me, it brings up, and for other people I'm feeling it to being very sensitive, is fear. So here goes that fear again. Fear, unfortunately, is embedded in everything. But then you know what? So is love. And recognizing what I've recognized for myself is when I have my own truths about what I believe might be going on, it helps me stay relaxed. It helps me stay more in balance when I hear things about, oh boy, we don't know what those things in the sky are. And there's a whole bunch of them. And, we're all spinning out of control. How to bring yourself back into balance when things around us are spinning out of control, because this is not the first time. If you look back at history, there's always things spinning out of control, maybe not necessarily in the skies, but like even Tom and I were watching the Napoleon Bonaparte movie the other day, and I was like, my God, and a little over 200 years ago, things were spinning out in a whole different way, and what an amazing planet we live on today. So, but again, in recognizing there's always something going on. So that's what I wanted to bring up today was the thing about the drugs, because it seems to be a really hot subject right now. So which of you two, Tom or Tiger, want to take it over?
Well, I'll pipe in here.
Tom.
I follow Dr. Stephen Greer, and as you do, and he talks about, UFOs or UAPs, and there's been quite a bit of disclosure on Capitol Hill. So this is all mainstream news. There's nothing new about this. And, there's the big key is they're trying to create fear so that we're scared of whatever's going to come and visit us or work with us. And, some folks say that extraterrestrials have been coming for quite a long time. I mean, I have to pinch myself because as I say that over the air, I can just point to numerous news stories, probably the last few months and over a year or so, where I'm not talking crazy talk anymore. There's all these whistleblowers on Capitol Hill and from the Department of Defense and and elsewhere. So, plus I've known people who said they've had these kinds of experiences. And whilst I don't recall ever having a, UAP or UFO type experience much, in a big deal kind of way. One thing I've learned about when it comes to spiritual things is that people have their experiences, and when they share their experiences, there's usually something to it. So, I believe in having dreams that come true. I believe in psychic perceptions, and of course, even in our federal government, they've been working with remote viewing, which is really just a fancy way of a scientific way of saying clairvoyant or good visionary who can see in his mind's eye. So none of this is new. And I hope to put a podcast together just showing all the slices of the evidence that are just now in mainstream for all this stuff that we've been talking about for 40 something years. And, and in fact, Tiger's father had been talking about for quite a long time before that, and many others as well, that your sensitivity, your ESP is a reality. And so, I guess a solution here is just tune into, do you feel there really is a threat from the drones? And when my sensitivity tunes into it, I don't feel any threat. And, rather than sort of dictate the research that I've done, I just encourage folks to do some research and see what you think about it. Once you've listened to some of these folks that have had experiences, and like as we know, the Navy commanders and captains flying, high-speed aircraft have had these, experiences. So one thing that does resonate true with me is that, sometimes there are these outer authorities that want to control us by fear. And that seems to be a consistent throughout history. Let's demonize somebody so that we get you fighting with them, and instead of looking for solutions, and that sort of thing. So I'm not going to rush to any judgment, and however you feel about it or however you think about it is okay with me. I think in some ways too, like the odds of a drone landing on our house are probably so remote, even if you live in New Jersey where there's supposed to be a ton of them. I mean, you probably walk across the street in New Jersey and you have a higher chance of getting killed, or slipping in your bathtub. So really, even from an intellectual point of view and a logical point of view, there's not a lot to worry about. Although I think it's kind of exciting. Like, here's my final 2 cents is, wow, these things are in the air. And we do know we have military drones and civilian purpose drones. And there's new ways to work with them. And, it's a new type of aircraft. And there probably is a proliferation of those types of devices and aircraft out there now. So probably in summary, all we have to fear is fear itself. And until one lands in my backyard, then maybe I'll get concerned.
And little aliens come out?
Yeah. And say, take me to your leader.
That's what I hit.
Go, Teresa.
Well said, Tom. Well said. So, Tiger, what's your perspective?
Yeah, this has been an interesting story in America. It's, and it has been focused around the New York, New Jersey area, generally speaking. And it's kind of been ongoing, the last many weeks. But, it's this last week, it's shown up again. And my perspective on that is similar to how you opened, which has to do with a little bit of that fear thing and the ramifications that come from that. That's number one. But to start fresh there, America is coming off of just a really heated political season. We just amazing fanfare there. It seems like it gets longer and longer every year, or cycle that they do that. So when that started dying down, it's almost like all that momentum had to go someplace. It's like that all that energy has to go to these. If it's the one main pipe is shut down, then there's going to be 5 little pipes that start jetting water out. And this is part of that from my perspective. And so it has to do with the vacuum. When there is a vacuum of energy, then something is going to take that place. And the worst thing to do is to be involved in fear, the vacuum of fear. that makes the worst of myself and my sisters and brothers and my community come out, because now I'm operating based on defensive thoughts rather than what I've come to do and what's my purpose. And it just takes me totally out of a cleansed environment, cleansed thoughts. And now I'm getting into that where maybe I might have a good day today, instead of, I'll have a bad moment, but I'm having a good day, right? And I just need to make sure that that's from kind of a real big picture of this story. That's one thing that I just need to remember, because this will die off and then something else will come up for me to get all fear mongering about, right? There's no limit to what it is. So I am interested to see more what transpires from the whole thing. Having been in the service a little bit, it's, I've had that perspective of like, let me see the facts here, there are a lot of interesting, personal drones that people have. We have a good friend of ours who has a drone. He's got that cool one, and then there are the whole military and government side of things. And then there is what we can explain, the UFO type thing. But at the end of the day, I just need to keep coming back home to getting the facts. And I think that's part of what the news is all about. The news is short for north, south, east, and west. It's the news. That's where news comes from. I'm getting my whole perspective filled here rather than getting caught in one perspective. So for me, it's an interesting story. I'm waiting to see more. I think there has been some identification in that there are a lot of drones. And then there's just stuff that they can't quite explain and nobody's giving the answers, which, that makes the myth go even bigger. But at the end, I think for me, where it stands, if I were to put a button on it, is just being aware that there's a vacuum of energy that's out there. And I need to be sensitive of what I'm going to replace that vacuum with. I need to stay directed in my own energy. And if I look into something, I need to do it with my guidance, with my spiritual helpers, and my grounded common sense of how it's going to help me move forward in my life. And if I'm not doing it from that perspective, I'm going to be vulnerable. I'm going to be vulnerable to confusion or outside influences. I'm going to be vulnerable to everyone else's, ups and downs. And there's going to be plenty of that. There has been plenty of that for a couple thousand years. And it's going to be there after I'm gone. So, the pin on it is just keep my energy factual and clear. And as it unfolds, it unfolds. And then also for me to be directed and purposeful.
Well said. And I want to add one more word there too, which is what we started this podcast, this section with, is discerning.
Right.
So this newscast really is about discerning the different things that are out in the world, different things, the story people are portraying, the fear, the love, the whatever it is, discerning how does it feel for myself? Is that truth for me? Like Tiger's saying, for getting the facts and really resonating with, yeah, that's real for me, or no, I don't need to mess with that. I don't need to play in that field, because until I know more facts, I have better things to do. I have to live a life and move on. And that's a lot of what we also share through our teaching, the Way Shows College, is about really being practical with all this. Because if you're not understanding who you are as a soul and that you have help, you've got a support system behind you, and where our true home is the universe, well, you can feel a little lost. And so being able to discern some of these key things for myself has given me so much clarity and so much awareness that I'm glad we're here to share this today. So absolutely. So Tom, do you have one last thing to say about the drone situation?
No, I think you guys have, summed it up really well. And I think what I get out of what you shared is that, for me, it's fun to investigate it. It's part of how I provide myself some entertainment or explore, or, so it's a topic that's of interest. But when I'm earning a living, my job is to be of service to people who want to buy certain products or services, or for me to deliver content about tools and techniques that we work with, to help people stay cleansed and stay on track. And I think what really resonates with me is it's so easy to go, oh my God, this big new thing's we're gonna hear about it. And the truth is it will go away and then something else will come up. And there's always been one thing after another. I think I've often said that. And really, what a beautiful world we really live in compared to even a couple of 100 years ago. When the chopping at people's net routes and, man, let's not get into it, but it was tough. It was different. If one country if you didn't go to take over another country, other countries were going to come and take you over like that. My guide shared that with me once. It's like, put that in the perspective of when you think of these horrible tyrants that went and conquered different lands. Honestly, if you didn't do it, somebody else was going to come and conquer you. So it was part of the game for some reason at that time, Absolutely. There we go.
And Tiger, do you have any last things you want to say about that?
Just, stay directed, get the facts, and use the time to what Teresa's bringing up. Use the time to discern. But these are all tools. And I know it sounds kind of like broken record, but to go view that lecture that they have on their site, it really gives me a bigger picture so I can really discern where this stuff fits for me. If I don't, I'm going to be at the mercy of the strongest current around me. And I don't want to shut my sensitivity down. I don't want to shut my creativity down. So that's not an option, right? So instead, I just need to bolster my self-respect and I need to bolster my buffer. And I definitely need to be full in my direction, right? I need to be that wedge of energy moving forward to know what's my business is what's not. And this is a beautiful example of that. But it's like Tom's saying, is like, this is really interesting. How is it this has gotten so much attention? Is there something there? Let's find out what the facts are. But then also temper that with, okay, I need to go do my exercise. I need to go earn my daily bread, making sure that I just keep all that together. While that's simple for us to say, it's amazing how, as someone who's sensitive to the environment, I'm aware of the environment, how I can get caught up in things, right? Before you know it, I'm playing in the fear game like everybody else, right? And then that affects my relationships, then that affects my physical body, all that good stuff. So wrap up is just being clean and clear with where I begin and end and discern.
Love it so much. And so this was our first broadcast today, and we hope that you enjoyed it. And if you enjoyed and want to learn more about the topics we touched on, which were the drones and which were the AI, we'll have those links down below in the show notes, as well as the link for the Awaken video series, which you can check out, which Tiger's been mentioning a couple times. You can check it out for free down below and learn for yourself and explore for yourself some new tools and techniques that you might have not really recognized yet that could help you in discerning the news of today.
But it's a great thing to go watch those videos, because as we continue these episodes and share more about things as they evolve, and as our perspective evolves, then it'll have more meaning for you. You'll get more out of it.
Well, and just as a further to that, I just going to kind of plug it a little bit here, team. If you want to, we work in a business, right? And the many people, the other leaders that are with us that you just don't happen to see on the podcast, we work in a business where we want to work our way out of a job.
Well said.
Right? A lot of people want job security. We want to work our way out of a job. That basically means freeing people, right? That they have their own big picture. And that's why Tom and Teresa are talking about those little lecture series videos. And so they are phenomenal. They give the big picture of life from birth to death and beyond. And quite frankly, it just helps me get through daily living, through my relationships, why I'm here, how to work with things. It's just simple stuff that it's simple but profound. I think that's what you said one time. So check those out. It's worth every bit. It's $1 million opportunity, honestly. And the college makes it so that it's available to everyone. So it's truly $1 billion opportunity. Go get it.
Well said. And so on that, remember, whatever perspective you have out there, consider the spiritual perspective, because that can really be a game changer. Cheers, team.
To keep the enthusiasm going, please like, subscribe, or comment below. We would love to hear from you.